Okay. I have tested the sound and it seems I deleted this application Apex. That the Twitch soundtrack application I deleted it, and now it seems that my audio is being recorded. So let's see. Hopefully it's gonna stay like this. Ready for today?
We
Are you ready? Are you ready, Yo-Yo? I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. It's no, what? I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, Twitch.
Today is gonna be an interesting topic. All right, then let's get started, I guess. And
Yes.
I am gonna hide my chat because I don't want to get distracted. So we can go with questions after we are finishing. So today, guys, we will do the same book, Emotional Incest Syndrome. And today we will do the part 1, chapter 3 and 4. And if you guys want to read the book, by the way, it is in my Discord channel in the book section. And also you can just find it, either you can buy it on Amazon or find other ways to read it. Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna hide my chat. Everything seems good, so let me put my boop, boop.
No distractions. No
All right,
distractions.
so now chapter 3 and 4, it's about, especially chapter 3, it's what does it cost you to be a chosen child? That's for chapter 3. And we're gonna look at some mythologies, family mythologies and denials that perhaps as a child we have been creating and brought up into the adulthood, and identify some problems, and of course relationship problems that perhaps are happening now in our adulthood, and that can be due to the reason that you were a chosen child when you were young. And chapter 4 is gonna have, we will discuss about how emotional incest affects other family members. So we will look a bit at family roles and how this also affects somebody's psyche. Okay, so let's get started. Chapter 3. So the adult cost of being a chosen child. I think we were looking at mythologies and what kind of mythologies we learned from our family. And also I think mythologies could be like of course like beliefs. What were we believing when we were young? And since you wrote this question, I will let you answer it first.
Mythologies. But it's an interesting way of saying something or trying to explain something. When you try to understand why you think something is normal, and then when you grow up and think, okay, this is normal, but at the same time, it's not normal, and then there are other type of normal things to do. What else?
But like,
Well, yeah,
what type of mythologies or myths were you believing in your family?
in my case, I thought it was normal to be violent because that was my whole environment when I was a child. Every time it was either was verbal or was physical, and I thought that when people were behaving normal, like no shouting, no screaming at each other, no insulting each other, no beating each other, I thought, well, okay, it's like, you know what, something's too good to be true. That's something I always carry on with me. Is like, okay, this is too calm, something had to happen, and I somehow think that's why, or that's when I unconsciously, what is, boycott myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, because like it's kind of like you getting used to like being in this environment, and as you said, when you are in a calm environment or peaceful, you are like, oh my god, like this is strange, and and correct me if I'm wrong, but I did have the same experience, to be honest. And sometimes what I understand by boycotting is that you will actually try, not try, but unconsciously you are going to create similar types of situations that
Yeah,
you
yeah, it's like
experienced.
that.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, we are back to normal, because
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, because it's a habit. This is like if
yeah.
it is completely normal for you because okay, if I
Mm.
don't see violence, it's means something is wrong. That's it sounds pretty how you say animalistic from our part as humans. Like you get used to it. It's like it's ingrained in your instincts or something. And something else was the dynamic of my family because there was the relationship with my mom and my father, then my mom and my grandma, and then them with the rest of our family. And I don't know how to put it simple, but they just were so toxic towards each other. It was insane. And I just thought that was okay. I mean, it's not that I like it. I knew from when I was small, like, okay, this doesn't actually feel good, but I guess it's normal, so I have to accept it. And you don't have to accept bad things, of course.
Hmm.
So yeah, that is the main thing to be violent, either physically or verbally or psychological. That was, and it's still pretty prevalent on my family, unfortunately, because to change anything, everybody has to agree to do it, to change, to be better, to improve, and stuff like that. What about you?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree here, because and it's not just about change, but I think becoming aware, because once we become aware of these myths or conditions that we have been brought up in, then I think that's when um, these type of myths or whatever, they are going to just disappear, dissolve, and then you kind of starting to see life different. And
Yeah.
um, yeah. But for me, oh dear, where should I start? um, it for me, there have been quite a lot of definitely violence. It was one,
Mm.
and violence, manipulation, um, alcoholism, um, mm, what else? Definitely my parent, like my dad, not meeting my needs, or um, I don't know. I think, to be honest, when I read this book, uh, and especially chapter 3, I
Mm.
was just identifying with everything that was in there. Um, so I guess it's about pretty much everything that
Yeah.
is related here, and my parents, I never saw this type of, let's say, affection or love between my parents. So um I guess that's also one thing that I kind of grew up with, that, oh, not showing love or affection towards the other, or not knowing how to express emotions, and always just being closed up and building these walls. And this was a thing that I saw as normal. And when I was seeing
Mm.
other people, let's say other family members, having this nice environment, and actually parents loving themselves and showing affection and so on, I
Mm-hmm.
was like a part of me was like, oh, I want that, because
Yeah.
you want to experiment that type of environment. But um also at the same time, I was feeling like, oh, this is my family is the normal and how it should be. But of course, it was then a conflict that, yeah, um I know is not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
um
your parents were violent over each other too?
yeah, my dad, of course. My mom, she
Mm.
was not. My dad was very violent, and
Mm.
um I guess he had a lot of anger issues, and he had problems with alcohol. When I remember when I was young, um and mainly the violence was happening when he was drowned in alcohol. and and I guess for me it's not just my dad but also other family members like
Mm.
uncles, aunts, where I did saw this type of behavior, and I was like, oh, this is this was normal, you know. um but a part of me knew that, okay, this is toxic, you know,
Mm.
toxic. It was, I felt it on me, you know. I felt it on me that the environment was toxic, everything was toxic. And interesting was that um now that I reflect more back in my past childhood, I know that I was a very sick child. Every time something new with me
Mm.
happening, being in hospital pretty much entire childhood, or having an illness, and this was related to the environment for sure. But this is an entire different subject that maybe we can have in another time. But yeah, it's but yeah, I guess I'm not attached to that, or in any way emotionally or anything, to what has happened in my past. I used to
Mm.
be, and I used to be like victimize myself, you know, because this is what normally happens. You start to victimize yourself and just start creating all these things in your head. What if you have been different? Who would I have been if I had a different family or whatsoever? You know, I went through
Yeah.
all that process, but it's, I think once I became aware actually of how I was identifying with all these situations, then uh, just it just stopped, and it happened. I'm not there anymore.
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
It's not it's not a place that is affecting you anymore. So
No.
you get to do your own choices.
Yes. Own choices, own decisions, and I think, as we said even last time, me personally, I did chose to cease any contact with anyone
Mm.
from my family,
Yeah,
because yeah, it's just
that's what
if
you
they are
needed.
not aware. Yeah, but it's not just, if they are not aware how their behaviors and actions are affecting um,
Mm.
people around them and their environment, then I have no power, or it's a bit difficult to awaken somebody when they are in this state, you know. So the best is
Yeah.
to just walk away and let them be.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
understandable, of course. Besides, people don't want to be helped. You're gonna force them.
yeah, of course. Yeah, this is this is a thing that well, I think is that obviously we should not force ourselves into anyone to like try to force
Mm.
them to change, but there are many ways that we can um, not help them, but many ways or questions that will raise a type of awareness in them, and then they will start questioning, and then they will start observing it. So um, yeah.
Yeah, you just remind me something that my mom told me once. Is like I think no matter what it is, she was saying, um, your words always will stick to people in one way or another. Whether you tell them something negative or something positive, you is always gonna stick with you. And actually, it's true. Like depending on the situation, you think people are actually not hearing you, but they do. It's just that the moment is not what it is, but then let's say something happens later in their life or in your life, and you're like, oh, and then that's something that someone told you back in the day is like, what is this hitting me out of nowhere? It is interesting. So now that we're talking about uh, making people aware of what they do, and like we actually can. That's I'm just adding information for what you just say.
Yeah.
Then you not really helping them, but like I just gonna put a little bit salt in here. Maybe you would catch the taste later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like planting a little seed there, and it will slowly
Exactly.
slowly grow.
Yeah.
But interesting that you brought up this, that we are storing these, let's say, experiences, positive or negative, that people are,
Yeah.
that we experience. Yeah, it's not that people bring onto us, but that we are experiencing. But why? Have you ever looked to see why? Why do you do that?
The remember people's words?
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes I think it's because when you're having, for example, an argument with someone and you just don't understand what they mean. You don't understand exactly what they trying to um, tell you. And then something else happened, it's not related to them, but it's kind of similar situation. And then you say, okay, this is why this person told me what they did. And now I can handle the situation better. Does that make sense? And all the time it's just because they just know, uh, or they try to help you. Like you don't do this because this might happen. In the case of my mom, for example, that she told me don't do this because it might happen this and that. And you don't understand what this person is saying until something happens to you later in the life. But but yeah, and I think that's interesting though.
Okay, so I think I misunderstood you then. So you were referring to, like, when somebody's telling you, um, at least this is what I understood. If my mom is telling me, "Hey, don't do this because it's bad for you," and you are like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever," when you are young, this is what we normally say, "Yeah, yeah, whatever," but then you still go away and do it,
Yeah.
and then these words of your mom come up in your head, and it's like, "Oh, she told me to not do this," and is this what you're referring to?
Yeah, but I was saying it as a like very basic example because I could tell you also. I used to tell my mom, "You don't need to scream to me to tell me what you want me to tell." And she will say, "Oh, but I talk like this," and she will always say yeah, the screaming.
Mm.
And it's not until later in the day that she started not screaming. And all the time she would tell, "Yeah, because you always tell me, or you used to tell me that I tend to scream all the time." And I was like, "Oh, so you actually remember I told you that?" That's what I mean. It's just it's different scenarios, but it's like kind of the same idea. That's what I'm trying to say. But you understood me, so it's like nothing out of there. You understood me. It's
Yeah,
really that.
yeah. The thing, actually we can actually also relate to this um chapter right now, with the myths and everything that we are storing from our childhood, the bad experiences, good experiences.
Yeah.
Um, I think what I would like us to look at is, like, why are we storing? Is not why are we storing, because when we are little we are not like that aware of why we are storing, but why do we carry this to our into our adulthood and keep believing them to be true?
Out of habit, maybe.
Mm.
At the end, there are things that are difficult to change. Because it's actually hard. If another example would be the relationship between my father and my mother, it was not near any healthy. They were young. They were literally forced to get married, even when they were too young. They probably
Mm.
needed like to just explore the world, you know.
Mm.
And unconsciously and intuitively, they didn't meet my needs as a child. My father was emotionally neglectful, and my mom, she just didn't know what to do with me. They loved me, but they didn't know what to do with me because they didn't get that information from my grandparents. And at the end, they just made it into a habit. Okay, if I do this, it should be fine. if she's not totally a train wreck, that's because I did okay. You know what I mean? Is and even though I never liked it the way they treated each other, I I thought it was normal. I
Hmm.
just thought it was normal. It's like it's your first door to the world, like what your family does and how they interact to each other, how they interact to you. You just think it's normal because that's, and you have it at 24/7 every day for so many years. It's like when you stick a song to someone's head like a torture, it's impossible to forget, right? So I think it's out of habit. And I think habits are very, very, very hard to change.
Why
Not
do you think so?
impossible, but I think they're very hard to change.
Why do you think they're hard to change?
Mm. Hmm. Maybe because of fear too.
Because of fear.
Hmm.
Fear of what?
Of change, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you're afraid to actually let go of uh, that conditioning or that habit because you will not know what to do if you don't have them, or
No, it's I'm not a. I wouldn't say I'm afraid still. I just thought it was okay to just keep it like that. But it's hard because I don't know. I don't know how to explain that.
no, it's fine. That's why it's actually great because we can look into it and see like um, why we are holding them and why do we believe that it's actually hard to just, let's say, to jump from there into a different let's say dimension, if we can use that word.
Animation. Yeah, yeah. It could work.
Because from my experience,
Mm.
or what I've observed with me, why I was so terrified of letting go of specific memories or experiences, be it positive or negative, it's because the moment that I was not identified with that, I felt I was no one.
Okay.
Like I didn't know how to exist without those memories.
Mm.
So for me, this is what terrified me the most. But then the more I looked into it, I definitely realized that I am not those memories. And that's just merely um, information, let's say, that has happened in the past, but it's not here anymore, kind of.
Yeah, 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 no, I get you. I get you. But I don't think I have to add anything to it.
Sorry?
I don't think I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, you don't
But it
have to
was
say.
interesting, nevertheless. Yes.
Yeah. Um, all right, let's do we want to say anything else about this question, mythologies?
The mythologies. No, I think if anything, it applies to almost anything that goes to our mind, like not just violence or stuff like that, but also expectations
Yeah, I
that
think
people
actually
in general.
a question that maybe we can bring up, do you still carry any of those mythologies to this day?
There are things I do and I things I don't.
Hmm.
I'm totally against violence in any type. That's something I don't want to carry at all. Um, but what I do carry still. oof, it's a lot of stuff, eh? We could
Okay.
be forever, man. It's I always say I'm a work in progress, so it is too much. It's a lot.
Can you
I don't
pick
think I need to
one?
talk about. I
Yeah.
don't know.
One
I
that
will have to work.
pick one that is there most of the times.
Okay. Okay, give me a second.
Okay.
I could say that I still carry. Can I say the consequences? Because I don't know how to explain the origins. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm making myself spiral in my head. I have commitment issues, and that's because the way my parents treated each other as a couple.
Okay.
Commitment is kind of scary for me. Um, not super scary like it's deathful. No, no, no. But it is it is a big struggle for me.
Commitment in a
And
relationship or with anything?
in any relationship, it doesn't have to be a specific one. It's any relationship because I was literally forced to grow up fast when I was small.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Me and my big brother, we were forced to grow. And even though there are things that we managed to change, there are other things that are a little bit more difficult to change. That takes a little bit more time, but that's okay. Uh, but yeah, that's about it.
May I ask what is it exactly specifically that you are afraid of commitment or um I'm not sure, I don't want to say afraid, but what is it about commitment that terrifies you or
Mm, that's very difficult to explain. I'm really not sure how to start though. Because I do commit to people, but I have problems with commitment in the sense that I can be emotionally detached. And that's something I learned because my parents were emotionally neglectful with me. And I always wanted to be free on that in that sense. But yeah, it's just something I'm working on. I've been working on for a very long time. Trying my best and stuff like that. It's like you want to be committed, but at the same time you want to set healthy boundaries with people and
hmm.
with yourself. But yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like you don't
no.
have to answer some questions. To be honest, are very difficult to answer on the moment. So, but maybe
But
this
no,
is
because
something
it
that.
brings pain to me. It's not like that. Like I'm in a
Hmm.
better place in that sense. It's just that it's just difficult to explain. Right now, I don't know how to explain it. And to be honest, I'm a little bit lazy to explain it. So
I get you. Okay. Um. Okay. Do we go to the next question
okay, let me
or
get the question. I do the question.
okay?
I do the question, and then you answer this
Get
time.
it on. Go
Okay,
ahead.
what are your impressions about chapter 3 and 4?
Mm,
This one, I don't know why it sounds more like a conclusion, but let it be.
yeah, yeah. I guess it kind of sounds a bit like a conclusion because, like, I mean, of course, chapter 3 is looking more at um, it's giving examples of different myths and mythologies and
Yeah.
how this type of enmeshment relationship with a parent can actually affect you. So what can bring up, for some can be anxiety, guilt, depression, commitment issues, relationship issues. So it can bring so many things into the adulthood. um, but I don't have a particular like final picture about it, uh, about chapter 3, but it's interesting to see this And definitely can be so much more meat, or the way that these can affect someone, addictions, uh, call it being continuously stressed, or sickness. Many things can bring, to be honest. But chapter 4, it was interesting to look at different type of um, members in the family and see how each one of them are
Yeah.
getting affected.
Yeah.
Um, so that was because it kind of opens also the perspective, um, which actually what did to me this chapter. It opened this area where it's like, oh, all right, I can also see it from somebody else's point of view. I
Mm.
can also see how my brother felt, how my mother felt, how my neighbor felt, or everybody within that environment, how they felt. So this is actually pretty important, because uh kind of like your attention is not anymore on the problem itself, or let's say you are not that
On
attached
yourself.
anymore to, yeah, with
Yeah.
me, oh, little me, I suffered this and that, but you also see everything that, um let's say, the cause and effect of everything that it was within
Yeah.
that relationship. And then you kind of be like, well, okay, it's you don't go with, okay, that's how it was, that's normal still, but you understand it and you are aware of it. Definitely is not normal, but it's you understand others points of view or experience, let's
Yeah.
say.
Or
Yeah.
what they did, even though
Sorry.
it is, or what they did.
Yeah, why they did, yeah. um
Yes.
so that was interesting to see. um
Yeah. Oh, from my part, I actually like the examples that were given because it's not like it always reminds me what I live or what my family have been going through.
mhm.
And it was all the time when I was reading, like, so that's why they did it this way. It's kind of funny because and then you just remember conversations. I was reading and literally remember conversations I heard from my parents and my grandma, and then the ones I have with them. And something that I actually is this is a very repetitive quote, but it's the
Mm.
same thing, and we actually mentioned it in the beginning. And it says, in order to change a negative trait, the people have to first break the Daniel or mythology and acknowledge that exists, and also that people don't change what they can't see.
Mm.
A lot of the time I would talk so deeply with my grandma and my mom. It's like, oh, but you were doing this, and you were actually hit with the question, and they were like, yeah, la, la. But then they go back and, yes, but I did it because of this and that, and then it's like, no, there is no way, they don't want to.
Yeah, but this is actually part also, because like sometimes we choose not to see it, to be honest.
I mean, it's
um
painful to see this kind of thing. Is painful
to whom is painful?
to the person.
What do
To
you
the
mean?
person itself. Like, for me, it could be painful to acknowledge that I have these negative traits. For my grandma, it could be that she doesn't want to acknowledge that she actually hurt my mom, if that makes sense. So she's like, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
But why is it painful though?
Is it really? I mean, it can be liberating depending on how you take it. But for some people, could be that they don't want to acknowledge that they could be actually awful.
That they are awful as a person?
Yes. Not entirely. You
Mm.
can be a good person and still have very, very awful traits. And you don't change as long as you don't want to see it yourself. It's like what was this thing? before my mom could calm down, for example, she would say, "No, I just talk like this." You will tell her, "No, but you're screaming. Why you need to scream? Like you don't even let me, you don't even let me talk. You're just screaming and just talking over me." She's like, "No, I wouldn't do that. Well, I don't do that." And then she would go, "No, no, no, no." Until later, it's like, okay, actually, I'm screaming. I'm actually not considering the other person's emotions and feelings. I'm not validating anything, and that is hard. Sometimes it's hard for people to understand that they could be awful. For me, it's also I have negative traits that I'm like, damn, I suck. I had to change that. And it's not that I like it, but I can accept it. Can sound kind of contradictory, but at the same time, I don't think it's contradictory. It is what it is.
Okay, I understand. But I think still you haven't answered. Why is it painful?
I don't know. It's just painful. Do you think you can actually explain everything?
Yes. If you do look
Ah,
at it, if you are observing yourself, you are able to um, understand everything and explain it, why and how.
yeah. But I don't know. Sometimes emotions cannot be explained. It just happen. Now, another thing is if you just let them run you. Um, you can accept something about you and still don't like it.
Hmm?
You can accept something about you and still don't like it.
So you can accept something about you, but still don't like it.
Yes.
But will that be accepted?
Yeah.
How can you? I mean, like, why would you accept it but still not like it?
Mm, why not? The question is,
well,
why not?
well, this is it because you are comparing yourself with somebody else, or is it because
Doesn't
um
necessarily have to be comparing to someone else. It's just it can just be. But of course, that's my opinion. I I always thought that things shouldn't contradict themselves, but sometimes it does. It's like the price for love is pain. And it's like, why? But why? I don't want that.
but then that's not love though. Love is not pain for sure. Um all right.
That's interesting.
it's I mean, there are just some questions. I mean, there are questions that me myself I like to put them and look at it and see like, okay, but why? Why am I so attached to this? Why what it is about this side or this trait that I cannot accept, or why am I trying to push it away, or so on and so on. So
Mm,
um I don't want just to accept that, oh yeah, this is how I am. um I want to see why am I like this? How is this coming? Is it me, or is it a conditioning, or is it what it is? Where is it coming from?
mm.
So this is something to definitely look at. All right. I guess we have already answered the question if you feel related to this chapter so far, or so far what you've been reading. And if you do feel related, in what way you feel related?
I do feel related, and I also think that I wish my family could read it, but they are not
Mm.
that good at English. But it would be interesting to hear what they think. In what way? In many ways. Um, Especially the violence part, if anything.
Mm.
The other parts not so much, but the violence was actually pretty. The violence and the neglect that was
Neglecting of your
there.
needs.
Yeah, and
Mm.
also for them, of course, it's like at the end I was thinking about them too and why they acted the way they did. Um, all that type of things. I was thinking, I was like, no, that didn't happen to me, or at least not to me, maybe to them, because just like that. This is a very short answer, so should be.
Yeah, yeah. No, obviously, yeah. For myself, I did kind of like pretty much everything or every incident that it was there. I was like, oh yeah, that's happened to me. Oh yeah, this one. Oh my god, this. And I was like, at one point, I was like questioning, like, am I normal? Like, you know, like, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, there was a part of me where it's like, oh my god, I'm completely fucked up. You know, like you start thinking, but yeah, that's not the case. But it's something, a part in the brain just like starts to overthink everything. And,
Yeah.
um,
No, I mean, it does its job. The book does the job of actually make you think. It's like, oh wow, damn.
yeah, this is great because it definitely raises questions, and it's good that the question is raised, but a question without an action, it's nothing. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, just question. Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay, and then that's it. You just question and you say interesting, and you look a little bit at it, and then you move on with the life, but you don't actually look deeply to see like, okay, why and why and why, So I think it's good to read it, but if you read it and you don't take any actions whatsoever, then it's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, Apis is saying that I think it's good to ask yourself if you're normal or not. It's a good safety check. It is a
Mhm.
very good question.
Let's check chat at the end because it's uh, it's best to just keep on this and then we answer questions if that's okay.
Oh, but that wasn't a question, eh?
Or whatever it is, it's just like I feel like it's interrupting the flow and taking the attention away from here to something else, which at the moment we try to look at something, and if the attention is not here, then it's it's impossible to have a conversation full on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I understand what you mean. We can continue. We continue. How do you perceive the rest of the family members? This one goes more into the chapter 4.
Yeah, it does.
This one is actually very interesting. Please.
No, you go ahead. What was interesting about it?
No, I need the question. You have to answer.
Ah, okay. Well, you said it was interesting, so what was interesting about it? Um, all right, I will go ahead. So, how did I perceive the rest of the family members? Well, um, now or when I was little?
I mean, you can relate both. Like how you perceived it back then and how you think they changed something now. For example, your brother.
I hope he's not watching this.
Why not?
um, I mean, back then, how I was perceiving my brother was definitely we had this how do you call it? Rivalry. This is a very hard word to pronounce.
Yeah, you did. Rivalry?
Rivalry,
No.
yeah, like yeah, you don't worry, like
Sibling
conflict.
fights.
Let's just say conflict, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quarrels. Quarrels. We had a lot of this when we were young. Um and it did continue up to 18, 19.
Mhm.
Actually more than that, up to 24 even. Um but that was due to the fact that, of course, jealousy that, our mother loves you more, and he was jealous on me that the father was loving me more, and that's the whole story, how it starts, and then
Yeah.
it just builds up, and it builds up because there is definitely a lot of ego when we are little and we don't know it, and it just runs however it wants, left and right. So um but right now, how am I perceiving it? It's just like it's I don't perceive him in any way, to be honest, right now.
Mm.
He is a human being as me. He is living and doing his best to raise his family and be a good father and husband. So
Oh, you sure you told me that he had a family. I totally forgot that part.
yeah. So, but back then it was different. Now it's all right.
It's
Part
alright.
of me wishes to have maybe more contact with him, um but I also understand that it's perhaps distance definitely is a problem, and things cannot be forced, of course. So
Mm.
if this is what the course goes to, then I'm fine with it.
Oh, you see how it goes. There's still a long run to go.
Yeah,
Maybe now
definitely.
it's like this. Maybe later changes. Who knows?
Yeah, I never know. I mean, definitely not getting attached to it. But I mean, other family members, I don't know. I haven't spoke with
Mm.
anybody in the last 4 years, I think, and or no, maybe no 3 years, and I don't keep in touch, and I don't want to keep in touch with them. So, um, but how I see them still, they are still the same. They are still the
Mm.
same. Um, Hopefully they changed, but last time when I saw them, they were the same. So,
Mm.
how about you? How do you see your family members?
Mm. Well, I will go in the same line. Like my brother, for example. I have a big
Mm.
brother. He's also currently having a family. He has his second daughter. They're both babies. Um, damn. Back in the day the way I saw him back in the days was that he was literally protecting me, or more or less, because he was the oldest. I was neglected in one way, he was neglected in another one. So every when he finally moving in with us, because unfortunately he was moving on between houses. At the end, we grew up attached, trying to protect ourselves or protect each other from whatever was going on in the house. Emotionally talking, because
Mm-hmm.
the violence wasn't towards us, but it's like the adults having their own craziness war, and then us.
Mm.
And I do remember having a certain jealousy feeling towards him because he felt at some point that he was getting along better with my father. And now that I think of it, it's like maybe it's because he was a teenager. It was easier to talk to him. It's not easy to talk with kids, and he was also a boy.
Mm.
And for some reason, it was easier for my brother to move around with my father than I was. And but that's something I appreciate so much. Like we actually managed to. I don't know why, but it's like we were young one day and we just scream at each other. You know what? Da 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 da. And I hate you. But then it was like it's a lie. It's just because our parents suck for whatever. And then after that, it was more like a more smooth relationship. We started understanding each other despite the years difference. And even though I have to move to Spain, and it has been over like 16 years since I haven't seen him, unfortunately. But he will always call me. We always talk for hours, and we always try to check on each other, how we are, how we're feeling, and all that stuff. And that was nice, and it still is. Just that now it's different because he has kids. So Sophie switched it on him. It's like I have kids. I cannot talk the same anymore. I don't know. But yes, is one of the things he told me was that he hated moving so much around houses. He was like, then I wish my father actually gave me a roof, a fixed place to be, that I didn't have to go all around. I go now to my aunt, I go to my father, now to my grandma. I don't want that. I and he said, well, to my kids, I want a fixed place. I want a house so they can grow
Mm.
and I can be for them. So that's something that he wanted to change. He, in somehow, he didn't want to repeat the same mistakes as my father. And funny thing is, even though our father was very neglectful towards us, he's trying to be there now that we are grown and that my brother now has kids. In that case, and I have to say that people people are strange. My father and my mom, they can never see a middle ground, but with us, because we actually managed to tell them, listen, you suck when we were young, okay? Like you could have done this and this and that. We understand you didn't do it because you didn't know better, but just And my father literally switched it. There are things he has to work on himself, but that's on his side. But when it comes to us, I think he has changed a lot, and it's because we as brothers or siblings and as individual people, we wanted to break a certain cycle, and that's why we managed to be a little bit more close to our parents, despite that we were first to grow up so fast.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how I see my brother. I think it was a nice change, despite the distance, because that's
Yeah.
another thing. So many years apart, but that put us together, like keep the touch, the strong, this bond that you call sibling, was like we actually care for our well-being, not just because we were physically at each other.
Mm.
It was a it was a crazy ride all those years. And now I imagine if I meet my brother now in day, not just physically, but it's like it's probably gonna be so shocking. It's like, damn, who are you?
Yeah,
But yeah,
perhaps because yeah,
it's
you haven't seen him.
yeah, yeah. No, but it's nice. Other family members. Well, at least I go to see my father again. My grandma, she's stubborn as hell. The rest of the family, I don't necessarily have bad memories from them, but I do know that the relationship with, like, the father side and the mother side, their
Mm.
relationship wasn't that smooth at all.
Yeah.
So in this case, I think, for what I know from my mother's side, for example, it's like she could never meet with her father, my grandfather, because he was not there at all. Or my uncle, he was jealous of her because she actually could stay with my mom, and he always asked, why could you stay but I couldn't? Why they send me away? Because my grandma was alone, she was dealing with three kids, and unfortunately my uncle, because he didn't have no one to actually teach him better,
Mm.
it's getting problematic, no? Right? Some people have different ways of dealing with reality. Like, damn. I don't know. I wonder what he could think of, because unfortunately he passed away a long time ago. But I wonder, like, what was he thinking when he was a kid, when he saw my grandma send him away from home, but then his sister didn't, and then the oldest sister didn't give a damn about anything. It was very problematic situation. It was, and that's what led to his violence, the drug problems, then the problems with my mom and my grandma, then the oldest aunt. He was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Perhaps everybody had their own pain that they were carrying away, and the moment
Yeah.
that you do carry pain away, that's that's what you will put out in the environment. So no wonder why everybody, perhaps it was so violent and, let's say, not helping each other.
Yeah. I guess that was their code mechanism. My uncle just decided to be violent. Say, I don't want to deal with this type of reality. I'm gonna go do this, even though it hurts my mother and my sister. And sometimes my mother would say that, damn, I know he had reasons to be mad, but why he has to
Mm.
go that far? And
I don't
I
think it
would just
has to do
listen.
with I don't think it has to do with coping mechanism to be violent. That's not a coping mechanism. I think that's more related to all the pain that you have inside you and all the anger and everything that um that's all you know, and then you become definitely violent, and that's how you are releasing bits and pieces of your anger and frustration that you have within you on others. And sometimes also what happens is people want to make other people feel pain because it's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling pain, you have to feel how I feel to understand how I feel. So I think that's totally different than coping mechanism.
No, I do think it's related though. I
Why
do think
so?
it's
What is a
related.
coping mechanism, first of all?
Hmm.
What is a coping mechanism, first of all?
But what I understand is how you try to deal with the reality you don't want to face, and you try to find another way to do it. And one example the lady was saying is that she would lie to people so she didn't have to deal with whatever was awaiting for her at home. My uncle, he will just try to do whatever on the streets to not go back home and just deal with my grandma and my mom. Until something was snatched of him and then everything was crazy. But yeah. My mother have another types, but right now I cannot feel them. But yeah, that's what I think. That's the way I see it though. Um but and you.
I mean, what? Coping mechanism, or
Yeah, you were
if
asking the question. No, you were asking the question, what is for you?
what is for me? Well, it's not for me, but I think what a coping, I mean, I think the meaning of a coping mechanism is when you are trying to deal with stress in your life in a way that it will maintain some balance um, within within yourself. That means not reacting um, in any way violently, aggressively, and so on. So you do have a coping mechanism to help maintain somehow peace within. That's
Oh,
how I
okay.
see it.
Oh, okay, okay. So you don't think violence have nothing to do with COVID mechanism?
No,
Ah, okay, okay.
I don't think so, because there's nothing. How are you going to become centered um, by being violent?
I don't think that's something you do thinking about with violence though, sometimes.
What's that?
You didn't hear me?
No, can you repeat again?
Oh, I know that I think that sometimes people can how you say that they can take violence as a way of coping with something that they don't want to do because they just do. Some people do it in a no violent way, and so the people do it in a violent way.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any coping mechanism?
Mm, I'm thinking. Mm, oh damn. Mm. Yeah, because I shut myself in. Yeah.
You shut yourself down.
Mm.
In what way?
When I go into cocoon mode, that's my way of going with whatever I'm dealing with.
So you
Cocoon
mean
mode.
you are cutting out any, you're isolating yourself basically.
Yeah. And you?
Um Wait a second. We are not
No
done
worries,
with
no worries.
you.
No worries.
But I mean, like, how is this a coping mechanism to isolate? Or what is it that you are coping with when you are doing
If I'm mad at
when you
someone, I
are
just don't want to talk to them. So to try to calm myself down, I distance myself from people.
Mhm.
That's
Because
what
you
I do.
feel certain situation bring up something in you, or
Yeah, of course. It's like if different feelings, huh? I don't agree with it. Well, I'm not gonna be mad. Then I don't know. I don't want to talk to you. Then I don't have to reclude myself. Bye.
okay.
After I'm like, okay, can we talk and blah blah blah. But I need to calm myself down. But that's my way, of course. It actually makes me think that not everything revolves about me, because it's easier to get blurred by the emotions.
Mm, okay, I understand. Yeah, me coping mechanism. Depending with what emotion am I dealing with,
Mm,
and I used to have a lot of like I used to meditate a lot before. That was a coping mechanism, but I realized that it's not. I realized that I was actually not watching um the actual fact that I had to deal with, and I was just merely distracting myself away through on focusing on something else, like
yeah.
on your bread, on whatever, counting or whatever. Um, so that was one way, but I guess right now the way that I am dealing with whenever a feeling or something is arising in me, I just observe it and definitely not try to push it away. One
Mm,
thing that I do is like if I have, let's say, some events that have to take place in that day, I'll definitely cancel them because um, I have to pay attention to um, whatever is going within me at that time,
mm,
and just observe it and see what is it, what's happening, and why is it there
mm,
whatsoever. But I like dancing also. I guess dancing for me helps to express some emotions through movement.
mm.
Um, and yeah, I think so far that's it. Hmm. It's I used to have coping mechanisms when I was much younger, when I was doing martial arts. And
Mm,
I realized that that was a coping mechanism to deal with my anger and frustration. Um, um, but again, it was through expressing it out in a way or another. So that was by punching the bag, and so I guess it's
mm,
still movement or um, yeah. It's many coping mechanisms that somebody can have. But I still
yeah,
don't
you
agree
did.
with the violence one. That's That's a coping
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
mechanism.
That is fine.
All right. I
Okay,
guess.
Bella. Oh shit, we already did it.
Hmm?
That
Was
was all the
that?
questions. Yeah, it was all the questions.
Yeah, that went pretty awesome. Yeah, I guess for me overall the book it's okay. Or okay, the first four chapters they are okay, and as I said,
Yeah.
it's just like good way to somehow awaken you and take a look at your conditioning and why you do the things that you do. So there are some things in the book that I'm like, because at the end of the day, every book that we are reading is somebody else's thoughts and experiences, not yours.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
by looking at you through someone else's thoughts and experiences, it's not gonna work to like reach um, the point that you want to, let's say, discover yourself. Um, yeah. All right. Do you want to say anything else, or we can end it here?
Oh no, I think yeah, that should be it. I don't know how many chapters we have left. Let me check.